Hi, teachers. Welcome to week 5 of the middle school ENL standalone curriculum. This is Unit 1, week 5. We've come to the end of Unit 1, and it's time to put together the project portfolio. So the title of the portfolio is Building Together. The objectives for this specific lesson are to demonstrate a command of English language features and conventions, and to develop personal, cultural, and thematic connections to texts and big ideas. For additional context and guidance about the project, you can hop over to the teacher's guide, which is linked right here. But let's get into it. So the lesson will start with a review of what we've done over the course of the unit and the projects that students have completed. So My Story, My Strength, the biography poem, the stand-up statement, as well as the I Am or Where I'm From poem, depending on which lesson or which project your students chose or were assigned. So students will answer that question of which project was their favorite and why. So the reason why they're doing this is because they are going to choose one project to workshop over the course of this week for their portfolio. So moving on to today's task and some setup for it. So students will select the project from the unit that they want to present. They can either start a new document to add to their work and rename it Building Together Portfolio, or you may assign this one right here. So I'm going to click on it. And it's going to prompt me to make a copy when I click on that link. I'm going to hit make a copy. And this lesson guided notes takes me from lesson 5.1 to lesson 5.3. So if you would like to assign this document on Google Classroom to your students, they can continue working on it from 5.1 all the way to 5.3. So the review is right here. So what we just discussed, students can highlight the project that was their favorite and then explain why. And then we get into the editing section. So let's come back here. So the first thing that students will need to do is paste in their original version of whichever project they've chosen. So if that's the I Am poem, if that's the biography, they will paste it in to the document, and I'll show you where it goes on this companion document in a moment. And then they will add 2 new lines to their writing. Then they'll edit the writing using the checklist, and then they will share the document with their partner. So students will need a peer editor, a peer assessor. So however you can carry that out in your class, whether that's groups of just 2 or groups of more than 2, and some sort of circular editing, make sure that students have some sort of partner or group that they can work with to peer edit, as that's definitely going to be picked up in the other 2 lessons. All right, so let's move back to the companion document. All right, for some ease here, students will paste the original version of their text in this blue box right here. So this is a text box, so they can just paste right there. And they should not make any edits to the one that's in the blue box. So that should be their original version of writing. They'll paste that same thing in the green box, but then start making their edits in the green box. So they have to add 2 new lines of writing. So they'll add the 2 new lines of writing there. And then they will use the editing checklist to self-edit below. If you have been using a different checklist in your class or would like to use a different checklist for the purposes of these lessons, bear in mind that this same checklist is used in lessons 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. So if you are going to use a different checklist for 5.1, you should definitely make that change for 5.2 and so on. So just a note there. So students can actually check off when they finished here. So making it really easy. Definitely call out to students that as they do these things, they should go back to their writing and make sure that they're making those changes if they need to make changes. And then once they've done that, we move on to the closing of the lesson. So at the close, they will read their partner's project without making suggestions. This is so students can get a second read when they look at partner's work tomorrow. And then a question here is, was it easy or difficult to select the project that you wanted to revise and present, and explain your thinking so students can type directly here. For the closing and connecting, like to add any of these other prompts, you can definitely add it into the document. And that closes out 5.1. So a review, some work editing, some self-editing and self-monitoring with the checklist, and then a bit of reflection. So that closes off 5.1. Best of luck rolling this out with your students. I'll see you for 5.2.